It's me, and I still don't know where to look in this camera. Okay, so I'm doing a spontaneous video here. I don't know what to say here. This is quite a 180 from my last bench video in which I was just on a ballistic missile to Neptune. I was so cranked up on strong coffee. I don't know why I do this to myself. I take breaks from drinking coffee, and then I'll, chug down, I'll make like a really strong pot of like what I had, which is like kicking horse, grizzly claw, and then I was just absolutely, I think, like I said, a ballistic missile to Neptune or something. It felt great. I've had coffee today and just feel normalized. Doing this video, I'm on my way to Lost Lagoon from the seawall, and I do this, not necessarily Lost Lagoon, but the seawall, pretty much every morning if I can, very early. I've been up since 6, but it was dark, so I didn't really want to go for a walk, which might tie into today's, daily prompt, which asks about instinct. Do you trust your instincts? And the more I thought about it, the more it all became a blur between that and intuition. I guess my instinct is like something primal or innate or animalistic. And intuition is something more learned and cognitive. I'll probably write about this, so I'm not going to talk about it at length, but I know that, I don't know, like my instinct. Women have different instincts than men. There's no question about that. The potential for danger is everywhere. Like, see this guy up ahead? Can I zoom in? Okay, he's probably harmless. But when I started down this pathway from the seawall, which now leads to Lost Lagoon, and look at this, isn't this amazing? He was coming up behind me, and I'm like, Jesus, okay, I'm going to let him pass me before I start walking. And that's what it's like to be a woman. It's all instinct. Is a guy walking behind me? Am I on the SkyTrain, and is some, absolutely, some total wanky, fucking crazy-eyed guy coming to sit beside me, zeroing in on me when the whole thing is like empty, and you get up and you change your seat, this sort of stuff. Recoiling from loud noises. I don't know. I'll have to write about it, because thinking about it out loud turns everything into a blur. So I'm doing this because I'm turning 50 exactly 1 month from today, and this has given me some pause for thought. I can't quite believe it, but at the same time I'm so relieved. So yeah, December 19th I'm going to be 50 years old and embarking on a new decade, which I actually am really looking forward to. I don't feel old. I feel like I've got a chance at really applying what I've been doing for the last couple of years, especially this year, towards an incredible decade. I'll be honest with you, my 40s were a bust. I have been describing them as a failure, and I think that's a really negative way to describe it, but they really didn't go anywhere, and they were characterized by a lot of turmoil, external and internal, a lot of disappointment, a lot of spiritual and physical sickness, I guess you could say. I've been really open about the fact that I have had issues with self-soothing or self-medicating through alcohol. God, I'm sounding so somber and serious, but this is what I'm just taking a quick pause through my dialogue right now to say that I go for these walks pretty much every single morning. I don't always detour onto Lost Lagoon here, but I definitely always hit the seawall. I've been doing this all year. Particularly, this is the year I've done more self-work than ever before, and it's all paid off. And the seawall is such a sacred place for me that, in fact, even filming this and blathering into my phone seems very blasphemous, because getting myself centered and getting myself aligned and starting my days by going for these walks and listening to meditations, or just being in the moment and drinking it all in and thinking about how grateful I am that I get to live just a couple blocks away from the seawall is incredible. In fact, when I croak, I want to be burned, and I want my ashes to be scattered around the seawall, specifically Sunset Beach, because I can't have a Viking funeral. Apparently that's the second best thing. So yeah, this is how I've been starting my days, and it's really incredible to start out each morning being able to do this. I think it's really important. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, swinging it right back to abusing alcohol. I've been honest and open about that. I don't see any reason not to be, and that really characterized a lot of the last decade, along with a very toxic, dysfunctional domestic situation, just horrendous, in which I felt very stuck, and which I was stuck, and really not achieving much at all. When I think back on it, it's really painful, and I don't like to describe it too much, but let's just say that my 40s went nowhere. And, the previous couple of decades, my 20s were really amazing. My 30s were pretty incredible as well. I've traveled a lot. I played in bands. I, rode a lot. Not R-O-D-E, but W-R-O-T-E. Had a lot of adventures. I bounced around on a lot of men when I was young and hot and single, because that's what you do. Had great boyfriends, loved a lot, lost a lot, was very creative, was very ambitious, and then it all sort of collapsed, and I thought that was going to be a permanent state for me during my 40s. Excuse me, this is the first time I've spoken since I woke up, so yeah, so I finally pulled myself out of a really brutal situation in which I was just drinking so much, like so much. I mean, there would be days and days and days in which I just was lost. I called it caving up, in which I would just stay in my bedroom, which was really dark, and just annihilate myself chemically, I suppose you could say. That's a euphemism. Fucking drinking myself silly, gorging myself ridiculous on alcohol, just to block it all out because I didn't care. And so literally years went by where I didn't do anything creative. I didn't write a single thing. I certainly didn't play music. I walked away from teaching and got into administration, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm not going to get specific with what I'm doing, but during the first few years of moving away from teaching ESL, and I do not recommend that to anybody unless you only want to do it for like a year for an adventure. That, wallowing in the regret of doing that for far too long characterized a lot of my self-pity and that kind of thing. But I set fire to a lot of the first jobs that I had because I was so self-destructive and so unstable. I just did not stabilize myself. I didn't. I had a horrifically dysfunctional, let's even say abusive relationship, terrible domestic life, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I was just sick, like a very sick woman. And anyway, I pulled myself out of it a few years ago and was very proud of myself. I, got rid of the person I was living with and cleaned myself up and got a job, okay job, doing communications and admin stuff, and was really happy. I think back on that, it was like 4 years ago when I was 46, and it's really stable. And then unfortunately I got wrapped up in another relationship far too quickly with a fella I thought I knew but didn't know at all, and that imploded, and that was really heartbreaking. I mean, it was the wrong person, and I was the wrong person for him, but I also didn't realize how fragile I was. I thought I was really strong and doing well, and I wasn't. So all of this is to say that, since then, it's been a great deal of self-work. Look at this. Amen. A lot of self-work, and this year in particular, I've done a lot of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and been studying a lot of Buddhist tenets and teachings and beliefs. And when I say that, I'm not talking about superficial or external Buddhist trappings like wearing certain bracelets or chanting, even though I know that's a really sacred practice for a lot, or saying I live a particular lifestyle that's really ascetic and pious, and that kind of a thing. Buddhism is like gaining control of your mind and your thoughts, and that is the biggest part of it, and removing yourself from suffering. And suffering, in that sense, is not like life sucks. It's quite the opposite. I mean, look at this. I look around me all the time and I'm just thinking, I'm so lucky. Suffering in the sense that everything's really impermanent and you cannot control outcomes. You just can't. And if you think you can control a person's actions or situations or anything, it's going to cause you great suffering. And this was big news to me, folks. I learning all of this along with a whole bunch of other stuff has really changed the way that I now perceive and live my life. And that's through a lot of work, endless work that I can't even describe right now. But I really think that it's absolute, solid, concrete proof that you can change your neural pathways, you can change your brain grooves, as Moon Zappa calls it, by a lot of self-work. You can. You've got that neuroplasticity thing going on, and it is malleable. So long as you keep programming and reprogramming, and that even starts with how you begin your day, which is why I start my day every day like this. Waking up, being really grateful for the fact that I'm alive, and saying to myself, I'm at peace and I'm calm, and nobody can really disturb that unless I allow it to. And I don't allow it to anymore. I don't. I was such an angry person, and have learned that, drinking alcohol was actually just a symptom of so much greater, the way that my mind worked, which was thinking, overthinking, obsessive thinking, constantly thinking, and then having an emotional reaction to that, but the slip up, the danger, high voltage zone was acting on those emotions. And I am not going to say was, I am a really emotional and reactive person. And it all led to destruction and chaos, and, really projecting a lot of my anger outwards and towards other people. Oh God, I could go on and on about this. Let's just sum it up by saying, I have done an enormous amount of self-work to prepare myself for the next decade, because the last one was so disappointing. But you know what? I learned a ton from it. If I hadn't gone through so much pain and darkness, I would never have had the wherewithal spiritually, because I've always believed in myself. I've always had self-worth underneath it all. I wouldn't have had the motivation, but motivation's not enough, the discipline to really do the self-work, and it was a lot of work, and did it all by myself. And that's the only way to do it, to come to this point. And it's a daily practice. I'm more at peace than I've ever been in my entire life, and plan on staying this way. There are individuals in my life who previously caused me a great deal of grief, and I don't allow that anymore. That when an individual is acting with hostility and judgment towards you, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of them. And so I basically have to say, I really hope that you find some peace. And I hope that your own suffering ends, because clearly you are. Look at this, Lost Lagoon. So I'm ready for my 50s, man. They start a month from today, and I'm actually stoked about it. I'm gonna make the most of it. I've pummeled my brain into changing, and you know, the way that I live, the way that I approach things, has really altered itself this year. It's miraculous. I very often have let the external world get to me because I'm just so angry and pissed off and thinking that and just pessimistic and cynical. And there's still elements of that there, of course, that's me, but I just don't let I don't let other external things bother me, and they just don't. They don't. Going out in public, it just used to piss me off, and my temper would just rise. And I get annoyed for sure, but I'm just detached from it because there's nothing I can do. If I can't control a situation, why would I react emotionally to it? On and on and on. So, that's what I wanted to say. I'm really thrilled about a new decade, a new chance, and I'm going to make the most of it. Professionally, I plan to develop, but my day jobs are my day jobs. They don't define me. My writing is the most important thing. I realized by not doing a thing, not picking up a pen or really sitting down at a computer and banging out stuff for years and years. Shocking. I don't really have much of a portfolio or a body of work. So that's something I have to definitely work on, and I am right now. The blog is something I started a couple years ago to get back into writing practice, really build that muscle. It's like strength training, and my writing definitely has improved. It's great. It's just consistent writing practice, but I've been sending out pitches and working on my book, and I'm trying not to second guess myself every time I sit down and send out a pitch or write something. So that's very important to me. Living peacefully, living intentionally, and romantically, that's not important to me at all. It really isn't. There's always going to be men, there's always going to be sex, there's always going to be that sort of a thing, and I just don't need it. It's a distraction, and it doesn't do much for me. It's characterized a lot of my life. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm not one of those people who's defined by a relationship. I'm happy being single and alone. And if I meet somebody who's just devastatingly incredible and sweeps me off my feet, that's cool, but it's not what I'm looking for. I've got a lot of sort of lost time to make up for, though I don't really want to think of it that way, because as I said, all the time that the years that I spent in a lack of productivity and spiritually so moldering in a way was very important. So yeah, that's that. Good decade ahead. I suppose on my 50th birthday I'll do another video, but this morning was just so beautiful. I mean, look at it. I've been up since 6. It's probably close to 8. Before I start my day of toil and gratitude. I can't sort of believe this is me talking this way, but it's not even posturing, it's genuine. I can't really explain it. It's been a miracle to be able to change the way that I think and approach life like this. So now we're kind of close to the Stanley Park Causeway, and that means we're kind of close to Whole Foods, or Whole Foods as I call it. And I think I might need to get a kombucha, because a woman's got to do what a woman's got to do for fresh dill, a croissant, and a bottle of kombucha. Actually, that's completely untrue. I get my fresh dill from the Persian market. It's $1/4 price. I don't eat croissant because I gotta watch my girlish figure, but I will get a fucking bottle of kombucha. I looked up how to make it on my own, and it's just, it's just way too complicated. It's good for the gut, and I have learned also this year that your gut biome which we don't know too much about, actually is responsible for producing serotonin. So there you go. Keep your guts in order. And I don't know if your gut or your gut instinct or your gut feeling is the same thing as instinct. I don't know. I'm going to sit down and I am going to write about this. Holy shit, this has been 20 minutes. Okay, have a great day, everyone.